live from the Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan. It's your boys, the Cannonball, the Cannon, the Steel Twins. It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means.
Yes, sir.
AEW in Detroit. Oh, wait a minute.
Wait,
that is one, but if you're not there, you're here. It's voice acting, people.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the Sweet 16. Yes, that's indeed the 16th episode in the epic, great Ace Attorney Chronicles series. So we only got a handful left, but I'll tell you what, better buckle up, because now this one's going to be kind of mild, but it's going to be fun. A little bit of fun to go through. It might take 2 episodes, but we hope that you stick around for it.
Yeah, I was told that maybe it was towards the end of this case that I'm in for a treat.
Well, you are in for a very delicious surprise.
Mm-hmm.
When's that going to come out? Well, just stay tuned, guys. Just stay tuned. So, was one thing left to do, obviously. If you have a cap to your pop, or if you have a pin to your drink, go ahead and pull that pin.
I already pulled mine.
Of course, because he couldn't wait. Because, hey, package, what time is it?
Time to get bombed, y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
All right. I'm going to check my notifications super quick here. Jeez, I got to get all this. I got all this gas out the way too.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, we're just going to jump right into this thing. I'm really excited. I mean, you know, we went into this case like I remember playing it, but man, we went into this case like super blind today, so I don't remember how it went.
Well,
you know,
well, me neither.
No, we were practicing doing some lines for another case that's going to come down a little bit down the pike, and
yeah,
I mean it's going to take it forever to get there, but it's going to be tremendous. So press a button, load the game, listen to that music. It's freaking amazing.
Yes.
So we're going to begin the investigation. So if you were here for our last episode, so Seki Natsume said to Susato Mikotoba that she was called back to Japan because of the ending of a particular case that he went to, that Soseki-san went through, called the case of the Haunted Lodgings.
Ooh,
what? Well, this case, the Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro, is a recap of that case. And this is well before the events of the trial that saw and Mr. Ashley Graydon get on the fence for murder. But this is after Soseki Natsume gets found innocent of the incident in which young Olive Green was stabbed in the back. And it's a couple days later, and he's in hot water again. Ugh, is this guy gonna ever have good luck? So, without further ado, the Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. Take it away.
All right, here we go. Voice actors, floor is yours. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight, then in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas. Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, It only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
Tragic play, huh? You don't suppose we're going to run into that fruitcake? I apologize in advance. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. Whoops, my bad. So this is after the Ashley Graydon trial then. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute now. It can't be.
Yeah, because remember, the judge said he would decide on Mr. Naruhodo's fate after the trial, right? But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale. A tale which was now about to awaken from slumber, thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. Okay, so this is the present day. Okay, so in this moment, in the present, this is, past that trial. What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. Must be nearly time for breakfast. I better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate.
Well, what you waiting for? Here we go.
Get down the stairs, Ta. 30th of August, 7:28 a.m. Sholmes' suite.
Ah, Uno, good. I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready.
Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning. Shh! Not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the obtruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes. I see. So that's it. God damn, his nose is big. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Miss Naruhodo, you have, this very morning, met with a surprise. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? But of course, though I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has? And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember, by you.
Hurley pulled your button off?
Ah, yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder then that in my vexation I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring.
But Hurley, Reno said when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning.
Well, that really is a surprise. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. Couple.
All right then, enough of this silly conversation. Let me eat this bacon before it gets cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend.
And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. Truly exceptional young girl who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, as published in Rance magazine. So, Miss Naruto, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Well, I received a letter from Japan.
Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it? Really?
That's right, and she had some rather startling news, in fact. Intriguing indeed. You must tell us about it over breakfast.
Oh, yes. What fun.
Let's talk to him. This is Susato's letter. This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning by International Post.
Oh, how lovely. Look at Susie's beautiful writing. I wish I could read it.
And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case.
Really? Oh, isn't she wonderful?
A cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume. No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man. Twice. There's that word again. Twice. You know, in those two cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago. The mustached twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and the mustache.
You didn't have 2 mustaches, Hurley.
Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression in me. Although I must confess the details are a little hazy now. Very deep impression they made on you. Clearly. Okay, well, what's the startling news? So, what was the startling news penned by Mrs. Sato? Do you remember the case of the Haunted Lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. It's totally forgotten then. Anyway, in her letter, Mrs. Sato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago. For what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the Haunted Lodgings. Oh? On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Mrs. Sato's father questioned him about the case, she says, and something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikitoba, prompting him to send that telegram.
Oh, that case, yes. It was very strange, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I compiled the whole story to a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. But then Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, he said. Very mysteriously as well.
Really? I said that? Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Mrs. Sato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan?
This is repatriation.
Oh boy.
It's been 4 months now since he swiped Susie off at Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? Why did she just suddenly announce that she had to go back to Japan?
Indeed it was, due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No, it just said he was suffering from a high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. And according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse.
A ruse! So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd make the voyage back home. Why would he do that?
I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the Haunted Lodgings. summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that? I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding.
Ellie, do you know what it's all about?
Well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, man the fort in my absence, won't you, Iris?
I will, Harley. Don't worry. See you later.
I bid you adieu. He's gone off rather quickly there. What is going on? I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Susato-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes.
Oh, boy.
Aha! I've found them at last.
Iris, are they...
The notes about the case. That's right. Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the Haunted Lodgings. You want to read them, Rune?
Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case. But perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light.
That's the spirit.
Now look at this, begin to listen to this music.
Yeah.
And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. Just need to find a clue. And I have all the time in the world. Because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain.
Uh-oh.
Right, because of his slip up with McGilded.
Yeah.
Ugh, what a case that was. 6 months ago, a mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. Yep. The fog was thick and nobody saw her attack her. But, by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time, was duly arrested. That man was Susato-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Susato-san in court. And, after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence.
Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation!
Was the man's reaction after the trial. But his jubilation was short-lived.
Yep.
Oh boy. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness.
Ooh, good.
Hurry to Bart's at once. So Susato-san and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital.
So we're going back in time now, 6
Yep.
months earlier. 21st of February, 5:30 a.m. St. Bartholomew's Hospital, Recovery Ward.
There you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not. Oh! You're late! What on earth took you so long?
Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes, and it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital.
That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. Time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I've been waiting for this felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. And feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. There she is.
Yep.
It's olive green. Oh, we didn't tag team this. All right. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. So that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with the knife in her back.
Her name is... Oh, yes, here we are. Miss Green.
Miss Green.
Yeah, you got a message says...
Yeah, keep me posted. Okay, so it's just all right, that's fine. I'm gonna put this down.
I've decided to take Olive Green's one. I know just what to do.
Okay.
Watch.
All right, take it away. Because now, don't forget, we've also voiced some of the characters that are in this place already.
Yes.
In one exchange, so it's not terrible.
Nope.
Here we go. Good morning. Hello. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan.
Oh no! Was it your knife that... Are you the man who...
No. I'm a lawyer.
And I'm Susato Mikatoba. Pleased to meet you.
Oh no! Was it your knife then? Are you the one?
No, I assure you. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard that you regained consciousness and wanted to come to give you our best wishes.
Best wishes? For me? Thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist. The truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back.
I don't think that's related, actually.
Gosh, this young woman seems to be bent over backwards to put herself down.
Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose.
Well, let's talk to her about the incident.
To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green.
It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time.
But the case been solved, hasn't it? Well, they've been here in hospital, I mean.
Indeed it has, my dear madam. Spectacularly by none other than I, Herlock Sholmes.
Mr. Sholmes! As you all know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case.
Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green?
Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly.
Oh, I see.
Me coming around seems to have made everyone frantic like Bessie. I'm so sorry. Should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me.
Oh no! We're all so relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are.
That kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green.
About
Jeez.
yourself.
So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green?
Oh no! Oh, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts.
Oh my. The Academy of Fine Arts. Great Britain is such a wonderful country.
Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts?
Oh no, actually. I don't deserve it. I have a little flat on Brexton Road.
I see. How very interesting.
Oh no! Is it?
Brixton is some 10 stops away on the underground from here, and Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton Town Centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Any detail matters.
Yeah.
Perhaps not. But Briar Road is a far less
Salubrious.
part of town by comparison, dwelt in by those of inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Mustache. Inferior means? I suppose Susato-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine art student to be walking into such a district. That's all. What's this? She suddenly clammed up.
What's it? What's that?
Kids, what's that smell? I smell a secret.
Buckle up, boneheads. We're going
Oh
on.
my gosh, how everything is so beautifully interconnected.
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay, anyway.
Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself prying into a young maiden's private affairs.
Oh dear me. Do forgive me.
If you don't mind, I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things.
Oh yes, of course. We won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green.
Okay.
So now what?
See what Story has to say.
Well,
What the?
this rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it?
Huh. I don't think that's a decoration. I don't think it's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching a human form in different poses.
Really? It's not exactly what you call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it?
No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before.
Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Okay.
What's this?
Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Oh, look at this guy.
Oh, yes. It's a picture of a young gentleman.
He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think?
My, Mr. Naruhodo. I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart.
Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of.
Music died out. Is there Mr. Naruhodo here? Mr. Naruhodo?
Narrow fodder now? Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, but...
Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Good. This is for you. It's a message from a Mr. Saucy Nutmeg.
Mr. Natsume sent a message to me?
But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume?
Exactly. What's going on? What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Ah, what are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh, Well, this is most unexpected. Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? We didn't because you took it from us, you doofus. No, how could I have? It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls, a case of murder, no less. We must depart at once. Murder? Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit at his lodgings once we did. That will be entirely convenient.
Convenient? What do you mean?
It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what?
I'll heal the fucker at once.
Fiaker?
Fiaker, yeah.
Whatever.
I gotta look
just,
that.
just call it a cab, for God's sake.
Yeah, I gotta look that word up.
It was only yesterday that Saseki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. Now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address? He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought.
Oh. Well, what's
It's got nothing to do with this case.
21st of February, 7:18 a.m., Mr. Natsume's lodgings, ground floor.
Whoa!
What the?
What on earth?
Oh my! The gentleman is deceased without question! He's dead!
Look up, student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire!
Mr. Natsume!
Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me? I've only just got out of court yesterday! I was finally home after 2 days of misery! And then I wake up the next day to this! No anyone should catch a worm like this! Willful worm without will!
I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Miss Mustache.
Ah! Not the horrible hairlock Soames! Shoo! Shove off! Show yourself to the door! I never invited you!
Mr. Sholmes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume.
I am entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you?
Tusk. Here they are, ready. The busybodies.
Ah, Inspector Gregson. What a pleasant surprise.
Pleasant, is it? Gives me heartburn every time I see your face in a cream sea here, Soames.
Ha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive compulsion of fried food. Good morning, Inspector.
This is a crime scene. Don't you go touching anything.
Or good morning to you too, Sunshine. Okay, what the hell is going on here?
Well, shit.
Well, we can't touch anything, right? Let me at least look at this bloke.
Boy, I said heads off. You could have messed up my crime scene.
Oh, no, I just wanted to look, that's all.
No chance. I know you're kind. You'll mess it up just by looking at it.
Ugh, someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? All right, sounds like I better talk to the inspector first, try to curry some favor.
Well, that gave you an idea.
Yeah. So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he?
Mr. William Shakespeare. He was a lodger here. So you could probably tell he was an actor. Bit of a dead loss as it happens, or just deed.
Mr. Shakespeare.
The landlord, old Mr. Gallup, and the other lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. Phil didn't rise at his usual hour, so Gallup got worried and kicked the door down.
But doesn't Mr. Garrett have a bad leg?
Oh yeah, you're right there. It's not gently Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the cooking.
Really? Soseki-san?
Victim was pretty hard up, it seems. He'd done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. So the acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life, and miserable into it.
So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene?
Well, I'm not saying it's because the fellow looks odd or anything. That he acts suspicious. I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the culprit. I mean, cohabiter.
You nearly said culprit there, didn't you?
Oh dear. Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again.
Certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he?
Poor man. How unfortunate.
Anyway, can't say much till the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fellow's been gone that long. Body's still warm.
Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Let's talk to Mr. Natsume. What a terrible thing to have happened.
It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences!
So, the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room was just one story up, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose.
So, did you know the victim? Were you friends? What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It's an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it?
Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But Did he ever invite me to his room? Never! On my honor, I swear it!
What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruto?
When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. To that inspector over there!
What the hell is he doing there?
Wait a minute now. Does that mean...
Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Ha! You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose.
Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery?
Patience, my dear madam, patience. We've not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened.
Uh-oh.
What the hell?
My goodness! But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes?
Now that you propose the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I have managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions.
You know what that means?
The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow?
No, don't mind me. Forget I was here.
And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips.
Nonsense!
All right, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions?
No, please, pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant.
Impossible to ignore.
You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail.
But of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions, presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise for Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. Act 1.
Oh, here we go,
Here we go, boys.
It's time for the great deduction.
The game is afoot.
I love this stuff.
I love this stuff. Cause of death. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicated the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful? Indubitably. Why is the soap set so purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact. Yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer.
I don't know.
It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate.
I don't know.
The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Poisoning from soap ingestion. Ugh. What the hell's he eating
Next
soap,
topic.
though? Next topic. Suicide or murder? The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer.
I don't know about that.
To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. the careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock.
Wait, no.
Hang on a second. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on its way to the hereafter.
Conclusion?
No possible perpetrator present. Oh boy. Something tells me. Thus concludes a final act of Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction.
That ain't good enough for me.
No. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Miss Naruto? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing.
How extraordinary!
In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut.
And did it?
So I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach. Yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did.
There's something that troubles me as well, actually.
Oh? What's that?
It's Mr. Natsume. I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touched a nerve somehow.
Nonsense.
Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last.
I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth.
Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it in at an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. All right then, let's see what we can do.
Yes, we must pick out the key words in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions and discreetly exchange them from something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place.
In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day?
Yes, sir.
Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise for Sherlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1.
You know what time it is, folks? It's time for course correction.
Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Topic number 1, cause of death.
Poisoning from soap ingestion? I think not.
Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful? Indubitably. Why is this soap set up purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact. Yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer.
Well, it ain't the fork.
No. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something.
Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks.
Of course, only half the bar of soap is left on the plate.
But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap.
All right, let's take a look.
Just get all the way around. Look all the way around.
All right, well,
Can you look down?
I can't look up or down really, but let's look at this.
Is it really the teacup? No.
You don't think he was drinking tea with his soap?
The cup's empty, so there's no way of knowing.
Ah, how about this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water. He was dissolving soap in it so he could gulp as much down as possible?
Please remember that he may not actually have been the soap lover that he's been made out to be.
Okay, well, take a look. There's a hat down here.
Well,
I guess
not that.
No, it's not that. Look, there's another piece of soap.
Yeah, try that.
Look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamspear must have really loved this stuff.
Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at this soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with a half bar on the table?
What the? How can that be?
I think that they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. Oh, you know what? That may be it.
Maybe.
Well,
Well, let's try it. It is.
Take that!
Take that!
It's the other piece of soap.
Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course. The other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depths of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. That begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruto, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate.
Not the contents of the plate.
Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then.
Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it?
If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. There are no signs of any food in this room at all.
Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? Well, let's see.
It's got to be the teacup. Yes, a Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dried tea leaves.
It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo, as you all know. Stop putting on airs. And it's empty.
So we've already established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence that suggests he was drinking tea.
My thoughts exactly. Well, it's...
There it is. Take that. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion: the cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Actually, no, but we'll figure that out later. No possible perpetrator present. Suicide or murder? The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single key teacup presents the answer.
I don't think so.
The Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deductions so far.
Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspear was having a drink of tea. There will be nothing remarkable about that. But what troubles me
is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggest it. There's more to this deduction than it seems.
We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for some more clues.
Well, there's another teacup here. It's another Western vessel for...
It's a teacup! And it too is empty.
Given that he's actually holding this one in his hand,
We can assume that this is the cup from which Mr. Shakespeare was actually drinking.
But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we've deduced up to now is turned on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. I almost don't want to say it.
Yes, I know exactly how you feel.
Ugh, no, we don't.
Mom called me for some reason.
Well, just text her, let her know we're busy. It's probably nothing. So, take that! Uh-oh. The gamer biker's here. What's up? Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer.
Thanks for joining the stream, man.
Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along.
Huh?
In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's last supper, there was a guest present.
What the?
And at the very least, we can say now with certainty, we just don't know who it is yet, that somebody else was here in this room last night, talking tea with the victim.
Taking tea with the victim.
Taking tea with the victim.
What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable!
To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. Goes great so far. How's your sojourn in Florida, brother? In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know who exactly was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock.
Not the broken lock, but...
I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now.
I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the Helicon days of eating too much soap.
But the identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is... We'll find out in a minute.
Yeah, give us a minute. Gotta hydrate.
Let's see.
Yeah, give us a moment.
There you go. Maybe the wrong one. So, but the identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about.
Florida's good. Looking forward to coming up to Michigan for a few days next week.
That's awesome,
Yay!
dude. And the weather's actually warm too.
Yes. Well, can you try to ignore your feelings, but... Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo.
No, I suppose not. Time to look around again.
Well, look. What? Hey, wait a minute.
There's an empty bottle over here.
Well, what's
and a pile of books.
Yeah, but what's to the right?
This is to the right.
There's something... Look over there. What's that candle doing over there?
All right. Even Mr. Shakespeare didn't eat candles, it seems.
We've already established that he didn't eat soap either.
Ah, do you think perhaps the guest brought this candle here last night?
Even if he or she did, does it reveal anything about the guest's identity?
Good point. There goes my idea. Snuffed out like that candle will be.
If you sigh so deeply, Mr. Naruhodo, you're in danger of blowing out the flame.
I'm thinking it's the empty bottle. Let's look at it.
Yeah, man, doing a double show weekend and a wedding to go to. Gonna be a busy weekend. It's empty.
Empty of liquid, but full of air. That makes you think, doesn't it?
It makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in the room at the time.
Bother. Susato-san's quip and response was cleverer than my original riddle. The books.
Let's see what those are.
At first glance, it seems that the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially.
I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read, The Picture of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and... A Meal for Gaborio.
What the... Wait. I'm sure I've heard those titles before.
It could just be an incredible coincidence, but... They're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day.
What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. So Seki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right.
And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim.
Yet Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. What does this mean, do you think?
I really don't know what to make of it.
Pile of familiar books.
Yeah, you got it.
It's got to be this. Take that! What? Indeed. What reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a second-hand bookshop.
That's just a coincidence.
In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment.
No, never, non-negotiable!
If you can't bring your own copies up here, it proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there is only one possible conclusion. Doesn't mean he killed him. The victim died here in this room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor...
I think we're going together.
Who's, I'm sure?
Yours, yes.
Was you?
Mr. Soseki Natsume. Was you, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Holmes's great deduction.
No, this can't be right.
Oh, man. Not again. Gosh.
Soseki Natsume at the scene.
Well, hey, that doesn't necessarily mean he's responsible, just that he was there. Elementary.
Deduction complete.
Well, but it looks real bad right now.
Not again! Not again! Not again! Not again!
Well then, Mr. Natsume. It appears you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard. Again.
But wait! Hold your horses!
Yes?
Door, key, locked, entry, exit, entirely impossible!
He's so flustered he's being even stranger than normal.
But I think that's an alibi. You could have just made a copy. Well, you live in the same building after all. You have plenty of opportunity, I'm sure.
But misery me!
Sorry, sir. You get your chance to give your side of the story later.
The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache.
Ah, you horrible Sherlock Holmes!
He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he?
Come on now, don't dilly-dallying. Outside, there's a carriage waiting.
Look up to Mr. Norton, Esquire! I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but you have to help me! Please, I'm innocent!
All right, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it.
And one more thing.
Oh, yes?
My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me!
Oh, boy. And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken, Soseki-san found himself once again the prime suspect in the case of murder. Oh, boy. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Jesus. Well, at least that means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We'd examine the crime scene in more detail now.
Yes, that's right. Oh, and of course,
What?
have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Garrideb, who discovered Mr. Shamspear.
Ah, Mr. John Garrideb, yes.
I expect we can find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual.
Right. We must remember to go and talk to him later then. We get to talk to Garrideb again. Yay! So, here's something. Okay, this was bugging me. What's this doing down here?
What's this?
Looks like part of an envelope, I think.
Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter was opened.
Is that significant?
Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps. When you look around the room, there's no sign of a letter or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there?
Ah, she's right.
And yet here we have the torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual.
I agree. We better take this just in case. Torn off end of envelope has been entered into the court record.
Pardon me, folks.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Oh, the poor man. So young to die. You suppose it was a very painful death, being poisoned as he was?
I don't know. All we can do now is hope that he'll be reborn to a better life.
Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder, do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer will help a British soul?
Sorry?
I made sure I had a reference at the ready for just such an occasion as this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed, the British Way. I'll just reread it now. One moment.
There's quite a spine on that book, isn't there? All right, well, let's look around at this. What's this? This is a gas wall light, isn't it? Must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall.
Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas.
Now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they?
Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there.
Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much cozier. What's this? And here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind.
Huh. This is a gas meter, I think. It seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins.
Ah, I see. Yes, now you've pointed it out. I can see it. There's a slot just here that looks like it would take a coin. So you mean if you put a coin in here...
That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating.
So if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold?
Yes. Or if you were a scatterbrain with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank.
Thank goodness there's no meter in our office.
I gotta hydrate.
Let's see what else.
Yes. As we've seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. Of a stitch of the former window at tax that Britons had to pay.
What strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in a property? It's extraordinary.
It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block out their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. Oh,
What is it, Mrs. Sato?
if you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose.
What the? Oh, yes. It looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of them just here. So Mr. Shamspear who did it, I wonder? Being a lodger renting this room?
Look at this, Miss Naruhodo. On the outside, there's a little ledge, and there's something on it.
What? Outside? Look at these extravagant, bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room, with its grim, shady goings-on.
This one looks like a king's attire.
A king? I've always dreamt of being a king.
Oh, I think you'd be more suited to a feudal lord, a daimyo or such like.
With a con mage top knot? Every Japanese man wishes he had a chon mage.
Oh, you look wonderful with one, and you already have the sword.
Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a chon mage and a sword?
Oh boy. Now what's this?
Yeah, let's get a look at this. This is weird.
It's so cold outside. You can feel it through this gap.
It did snow all last night. It would be cold. But more importantly, what is it on the ledge out there? What are those snow-covered humps? Lumps.
It's more bars of soap.
Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window?
I have no idea, but the pair of them look rather charming like that.
Still, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window? I think perhaps we should take one. There are two, after all.
Oh dear, I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at this soap.
Ah,
Do you see in the middle there? There's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but
some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain.
it looks like the Hinomaru flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand.
Expensive? Then what's it doing in this ramshackle old room? Bar of soap has been entered into the court record.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's weird. I gotta look at that. So let's look at this soap bar of soap. Look at this.
This part is a different color. It's an exquisite design, isn't it?
Trust the British to turn a boring bar of soap into something special.
I quite like it. It reminds me of the Hinomaru design of the Japanese flag. I expect this is rather expensive soap.
That doesn't seem likely, given who it belongs to. I'll tell you what, that is going to be important later on. Nearby street map. Okay, so here, this is Mr. Natsume's lodgings, your books, bourbon books, secondhand book receipt. So this is those are the three books. Okay, so let's see.
What story tells? Oh, this teacup. One of the teacups that Mr. Shakespeare and his guests drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's bitter poison inside.
I'm not planning on drinking any, don't you worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty.
That's true. So, one was Mr. Shakespeare's, and the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from.
But Soseki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. Pair of teacups has been entered into the court record.
Looks like we're done here.
Looks like you're having a good snipper in, eh?
Inspector Gregson! Back so soon?
After I threw that little Japanese fell in the creek, I went and reported this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this place will be called on off by the yard.
Oh, I see. Well, we'd better be leaving then.
Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low being back in his cell again so soon.
I'm sure. We should probably go.
Wait, what the?
What?
What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
Out! Out, brief candle! Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player. He's alive! That struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part?
Here's a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Indeed! Oh, happy day! Ugh. What? Walking Dead! Jesus Christ.
Unbelievable.
The fella isn't dead at all?
What was that nonsense he was saying, though?
I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5.
Shakespeare.
Oh boy, that's where you got.
Well, at least Mr. Natsume's not going in for murder. So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, came back to life the man had indeed been poisoned, it transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment. And Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime. Whatever that now was.
Whoa. Man, what a treat.
21st of February, Briar Road. Who's that dude?
Whatever you think will happen now?
Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life.
I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seems very likely that Mr. Shamspear did consume poison, as we deduced. But it was an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder. Was it an accident? Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody.
I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? He looks like he's trying to see into Saseki-san's lodgings.
That's it.
Yep.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruto?
Excuse me, could we have a word? Well, there he goes. He just ran off.
I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it?
I do too, but I don't remember. Oh boy. With the exception of the top floor where Mr. and Mrs. Garrett live, all the windows are bricked up.
Yes, that's because of an old window tax that was charged on the number of windows the property had. In order to pay less tax, the poorer members of society filled in many of their windows.
But the tax has since been abolished, hasn't it? So the windows can all be opened up again, surely.
Unfortunately, it would appear that the residents of this district can't afford to pay to have the work done.
Yes, that is a sad state of affairs.
Especially for people like poor Mr. Natsume who have to live all cooped up in a windowless room.
Suppose that's the price you pay for living in very cheap accommodation.
It all seems rather pointless when you put it like that.
All right, you know, part of me wants to.
What's
to
that bike?
I know there's the bike. There's a couple of new locations. There's the Garrett's room, and then there's prison. So let me take a look at this bike.
There always seems to be a bicycle outside the Garrett residence. I read that bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact.
That one seems very warped, though, especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think?
No. I'm afraid that may be a result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider may have been similarly afflicted.
Then there's a good chance Mr. Natsume has been practicing on this bicycle, I think.
Oh dear. I fear you may be right. Alright, so
well, you know what? Let's okay.
What's story telling us?
Yeah, where do we go next? Yep. I'm telling you, we're going to the Garrett's house.
That's right. I guess yep, he's right. To the Garrett's room.
21st of February, the Garrett's room. Here we are again, the eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode.
We're here because Mr. Garrett's the one who discovered the incident this morning. Don't forget.
Your chops, eh? Yes. Good morning, sir.
Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday.
It was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Garrett as anyone, really.
I'm straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. I didn't expect to wake up to more bally nonsense this morning.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garrett.
Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about that dead loss of an actor chap in the ground floor room.
Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's words, weren't they?
Well, let's talk to this guy.
Let's talk to him. This morning's incident. It must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what had happened.
Well, that hopeless actor chap rises 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail.
5:30 this morning, still hadn't lit the gas. I went down, knocked on his door. No bally answer.
And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door?
Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course. Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have just overslept by half an hour.
That's very true, Mr. Naruhodo. If 30 minutes oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning.
Well, better to be safe and sorry and all that. Is it just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden?
Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door.
Mr. Shamspear. The victim's name is Mr. Shamspear, I believe. Is that right? Yes, William Shamspear. Took the ground floor room 3 months ago now.
And how would you describe him?
The word, destitute.
Destitute?
Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or a bally screw loose. So hard to choose which category Saseki-san would fall into.
Mr. Naruhodo, that's a little rude.
He was doing research as well. Research? Into what? Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare. Read a few plays of the old bard myself, Romeo and Hamlet and all that.
Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated.
Seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sao, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. A lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there?
Of course, Mr. Natsume is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shamspear would have had much in common.
Shakespeare interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that.
Mr. Naruhodo, really, how rude.
I love the way she could just read his mind.
Yeah.
Yesterday's events. After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning? Well, no. It must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember. It was completely dark already. The failed actor chap was out at the time. Mr. Garrett had noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose. Couldn't summon the energy for anything much. We just sat in front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shamspear got back. The chap was up till past 1 in the morning, I'll have you. Suppose he made his end sometime after that. Asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there. Well, thank you. It was very illuminating. Is everything all right, Miss Susato?
Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garrett, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly?
Not a big fan of stairs. Not this blasted leg.
Then, how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean.
No! That's a very good point. I can't imagine that you can hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it? I say, I know what you're thinking. It's a bally outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants. Why would I?
Then how did you know, Mr. Garrett?
It's the gas, woman. The gas tells me everything. The gas? Speaking gas? What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything? Well, as you're probably aware, gas is supplied to the building by pipes. Yes, I more or less worked that out.
Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside, and the gas company supplies gas to properties via the main.
Yes, I understand that too. Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen? Well, obviously the room would get brighter. Exactly. But at the same time, the
lights in all the other rooms in the house would dim for a moment.
What? They dim? Why?
Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual, and that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it?
Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe.
Is that supposed to happen, though? It sounds rather undesirable.
Yeah, it sounds dangerous.
Surely a good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless, long worn out. Barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. Extinguishing lamps up here, and they glow brighter than the rest of the house.
Ah, right, I see. So by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere.
You got it?
Oh, of course, because when people come back home in the evening and before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires.
Clever.
In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. By watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house.
Oh, gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Garrett. Absolutely fascinating.
Well, nothing to it, really.
And I can't really see that it's going to help us with the case either. What I'd like to know is why Mr. Garrett is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity. Well, we've done as much investigating in here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again.
A good idea. Well, here we go.
Well, first of all, let's me examine a couple things around here.
Oh, a copy of Rance magazine. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is being read all over London. Isn't it wonderful?
Naturally, one asks oneself if such a singular detective could really exist. But having met the chap, it's undeniable. It's most certainly singular. Singularly dangerous.
That's genuine public opinion. That's genuine public opinion for you, Mrs. Sato. Perhaps it should be reflected in the stories.
Make no mistake, Mr. Naruhodo. I intend to snuff out the sort of public opinion we just heard personally.
I'm starting to see where Mr. Sholmes' untainted reputation comes from now. The cannon. There's a single apron drying on that enormous cannon-shaped clothes horse. Look.
No, Mr. Naruhodo. That's a real cannon.
I knew that. I was just testing you.
Piece of history, that is. Seen plenty of action on the battlefield, I can tell you. Now the old girl and I are just enjoying the peace and quiet of retirement together. And of course, she'd come in handy if the enemy decided to launch an attack again.
Is there a war going on that I don't know about? What the hell are live rounds doing on his fireplace?
Good Lord.
Ah, yes, those enormous mortar shells. It's quite something seeing them up close, isn't it?
Didn't you say something about firing them into the barracks, Mr. Garrett?
Ah, you remember, do you? Just a little mishap that occurred during training one day. What are you doing firing on your own men? The captain bellowed at me.
I'm not surprised. Little mishap doesn't really do it justice, does it?
Well, one has these little incidents when one's a little hot-headed young private.
Perhaps I should put some evidence that resulted from one of my little mishaps on display.
Oh, does the great lawyer, like the great detective, want to exhibit some trophies of his finest moments?
He can really read his mind. Okay, this is the last one, I swear. I'm never going to move on.
That's your military uniform, isn't it, Mr. Garrett?
Well, ceremonial garb, yes. Hanging on the wall ever since my retirement bash. Not an active service now, you know. It doesn't mean much to me anymore. You could have the old thing if you wanted it.
Well, it might suit Lord Van Zeeks, perhaps. An overly ostentatious outfit like this could be just what he needs.
Ostentatious, but you're close. Very tactful, Miss Susato. Very tactful indeed. Okay, story mode.
Looks like we're off.
And we're off to the prison. Yeah, say it with us, everybody. Da-da-da-da-da, charge!
21st of February.
Local prison cell. Cell number 9. Oh, boy.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now?
Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Oh, yes?
What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me?
Let me guess. You're talking about Mr. Sholmes?
He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost.
But his diabolical deductions, they're not of his world. They've left me. Cursed. I'm cursed, I tell you.
Well, that sort of hurts.
Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too.
Yes, moving on. We have some wonderful news.
Oh? The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again.
Now, in the absolutely worst case, you could only be tried for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume?
It's terrible.
Oh.
I'm stuck in this cell, suffering from some silly wrong end of the stick. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, that selfish sicer! Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Fortunately, washy, William!
Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspeare was never actually dead in the first place.
Oh, yes, that might make sense. And I'm pleased that he is alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last. Oh! Oops.
Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspeare, didn't you?
I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present.
Who do you think I am? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story.
Why am I cursed like this? Well,
Let's talk to him. What happened? Can you tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume?
There's nothing to tell, but, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that accursed case yesterday.
The case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back.
It's hard to believe that was only yesterday. After the trial was over, I trudged my weary way back to my lowly lodgings, and that evening at past 9, it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspeare.
So you did go to the victim's room then?
As we feared.
I didn't do anything wrong. I never been to his room before. It was the first time.
Then what made you decide to go?
I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting, and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell.
That ties in with what Mr. Garrett said, that the victim went out and came back after 8.
We met again later that evening at around 9 or just after, when I took us some nice tea I brewed as a gift.
So it was you who brought the tea that clearly had been drunk at the scene then?
And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you? Yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
Romeo and Juliet. Who was the stronger?
It was a delightful debate. I'm sure.
Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare!
And the debate became very heated. So you slipped poison into Mr. Shamspeare's tea?
No, never, not at all! Team Juliet won! That was me! And when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was fairly fit! I swear it, categorically!
Alright, well, okay then. I mean, so he was alive when he left. Mr. Natsume, you often say the same thing about yourself, I noticed. That you have a cursed existence.
I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time, I've learned that it's no place for me. It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture.
Just double checking to make sure nobody... Alright. Okay. Good. Jolly good.
There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me. They all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room, which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room, I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember, and then, 1 week ago, I moved on to Briar Road.
But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable.
Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money, it spoke to me. The rent? Obviously, there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed.
Cursed? Cursed how?
The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there. Oh no! He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead, and no one could explain why.
Surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that.
I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I wavered.
But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay.
When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning.
Brave or blinkered?
But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I had done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was. Gosh, was it really so awful?
Yeah, let's talk about it. A horrible history.
How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened? At first, it was just a feeling of beating eyes boring into my back, watching me.
Do you think that might just have been your mind playing tricks on you?
No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was giving the keys to the place.
A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean?
All the souls who died in that room, laying over me in my sleep.
And tried to strangle me.
That really is horrible.
And now I come to think of it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shakespeare was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room. You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible. Yes, you're right, I know it. And that's why I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home. I think perhaps you should try to avoid accommodation with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history.
Whew. Susato-san knows how to make the man listen.
Of course, Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well.
You mean Mr. Garrideb?
Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again.
Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place.
Perhaps that may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps in his tenants' movements.
You mean because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. Must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his let rooms.
What do you mean, he pays so much attention to the gas lamps? Oh dear, no, it's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please, forget I said anything. Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well.
What's important is that Mr. Shakespeare isn't in fact dead at all. Once he's come round and is able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released.
Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right.
Excuse me.
Inspector Gregson.
Couldn't help but hearing what you just said. And on that note, there's some good news and some bad news. Let's do it first. Always, every time, the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle. Right, well, in that case, good news it is. Huh? Sorry, it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way. And why did you ask me my preference? As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, is just unconscious. He's coming round now.
Yes, we saw it happen in all its terrifying glory.
He's still being treated by the doctors. We've managed to get a written statement from him already. Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume? Oh, thank goodness. It's all over then. I can leave this summer cell. Wait a minute now. Hold it. Sorry. No. That's not in the cards. What? Why ever not, Inspector? Mr. Shakespeare has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night.
Implicated someone?
Oh dear. You don't mean? I'm sorry to say I do, yes. He's pointed to finger at you, Mr. Natsume. Ah! The sleep pointed he skis the secrets into my life. That what could have cut if so Hiseki Natsume.
No.
So I'm afraid that we appear in the court as planned. You'll be wanting to make necessary preparations.
No!
Oh, what a... Well, there's a reason for this. Keep in mind, kids. And so, once again, Susato-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted, or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. Well, we got about 20 minutes left. What do you say? What do you say?
To be continued.
So we got about 20 minutes left. What do you say? Hey, Tim, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Let's keep going. So we're back to so we're going to the trial, part 1.
Here we go.
22nd of February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey. Defendant's antechamber, number 1. Sorry. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out in a nervous sweat all at the same time. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon.
That's my line.
That's my line! Good morning!
Ah, good morning, Miss Natsume.
It was only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here.
Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back.
But now this! Another morning, another murder, and here I am again in this hellhole! Can't keep coming to court!
I'm beginning to think he's right. It does seem as though he is cursed.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid I have bad news. Oh. Mr. Natsume, good morning. Yes, morning. So, here we are again. Yes, again.
Judicious is Miss Mikatobe Squires! What's the bad news?
Oh dear. You heard, did you? If you come and shouting at the top of your voice.
People can't help hearing what you say!
Oh, I am sorry.
You've done nothing wrong, Miss Susato. Now, what is it?
Well, it seems that the prosecution in today's trial will be led by Lord Barrack Van Zeeks.
Van Zeeks?
Ah! Oh no! Oh no, no, no!
The so-called Reaper of the Bailey, the most legendary prosecutor in the land. In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Soseki-san and I relentlessly. Of course, by the skin of our teeth. We managed to pull through, but still.
Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter. After all,
Yes, I know what you're thinking. The legend of the Reaper that says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zeeks is the prosecutor.
oh no. And even if that person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another.
We've experienced it firsthand. Oh boy, who can forget this? A man we successfully defended met the most terrifying end after his acquittal right here in the Old Bailey. Well, that son of a bitch deserved it.
Aha! Do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes boring into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits, and now by the Reaper! Her pair of petrified perils, potentially!
Well, if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Miss Natsume. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Ah, yes.
I'm innocent! You have to believe me! You more than anyone now.
Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle. I promise. And this promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Well,
Counsel for the defense. Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom.
let's go.
Oh yes, I forgot to say. I'm afraid he won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean.
That's probably for the best.
Oh,
If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. And that could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Van Zeeks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least that's my gut feeling.
Mr. Naruhodo. You're right. Yes, you're so right.
Oh, well said! Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Well said!
I swear on this sword at my side, and on the spirit of Cosma that it harbors, I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free, with honor.
Oh yes. Well,
Here we go.
lock and load, ladies. It's go time. 22nd of February, 9:40 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. 10 minutes earlier than scheduled, I believe, or 10 minutes late.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is ready.
The defense is ready, my lord.
Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat.
It's not just in my imagination. It's really there. Lord Van Zeeks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason.
It was some time ago now that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years, he hasn't appeared in court at all.
Yet now he's back in the courtroom, though for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. We both did it. Still, this isn't time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Soseki-san's trial. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty?
Absolutely! I had a feeling this larkhead wasn't innocent before.
I must say that I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right.
Oh, I rather like how you're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually.
I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick.
I couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight, or missus will go through the roof.
May the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to a righteous verdict. The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public, and that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt.
6 citizens of London, chosen at random. Or at least that's the idea.
The prosecution would draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today.
Very well, let us commence the trial. Lord Van Zeeks, your opening statement, please.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
It is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded to this eccentric Nipponese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime, namely that of the attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witnesses to the stand. The detective responsible for investigating the scene and the accused himself.
Wow.
Oh boy.
The defendant as a witness for the prosecution.
Witnesses, your names and occupations, please.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Sasaki Natsume from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student to study your language and culture.
Mr. Natsume,
Yes, my lord. Sir?
I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken that you swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember it as if it were yesterday.
The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough.
Believe me, this is the last place I want to be.
Inspector, let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court.
Right you are, sir. The incident occurred at the Gardner household where the defendant has lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, the defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shakespeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by strychnine. He was found the following morning when the landlord, suspected something was wrong, broke down the door.
Now keep an eye on that drug name, strychnine.
Strychnine.
Where would Sasaki-san get something like that? This means, I presume, that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident?
Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible.
Although the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, lives to tell tale, he very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when he first found him. He was the first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have a photographic print here that I took at the time to show how it looked.
Yes, a chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much deceased. What's that puddle on the floor over there?
A gas leak, maybe. That's right. Everyone present believed that's exactly what he was.
Very well. I shall accept this photographic print as evidence for the court. Crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record.
Photographic print of the scene taken by police upon their arrival. The victim can be seen unconscious at the table, having been poisoned.
Now then, Mr. Natsume,
Yes? Yes?
as the defendant, do you have anything to say at this juncture?
They're haunted. Haunted by evil spirits.
Good gracious, what's haunted?
My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings! The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned. And me! What about me? I've nearly been killed countless times.
Killed, Mr. Natsume? How?
Excuse me. Even on that fateful night, it happened. When I returned from Mr. Champfield's room, I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed. But before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me!
You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume.
But it's so cold! My running nose would freeze!
The point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed?
Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events.
If I could raise one more point, my lord. One more conclusive point.
Conclusive? Go on.
Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shamspear, has regained consciousness after his ordeal, and he is named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused.
The accused? Good grief! Order! Order! Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. If Soseki-san is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him? Well, Mr. Natsume, what have you to say to this accusation?
That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspear's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never!
The public pump was frozen, you say?
That's not information we heard before.
Actually, we did. That will do, thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection.
None whatsoever, my lord.
Good. Then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now.
Yeah.
Yes, my lord!
It's a shifty bastard.
Oh, man.
Okay, the catastrophic night.
It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and I took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. My tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? Strychnine takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest left. The argument still stands.
So let's keep an eye on that drug. Yes, I see. It all seems relatively straightforward.
Excuse me, but that testimony does raise one rather crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsume claims his tea to have been harmless. Presumably, though, the teacups have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they?
Why didn't I think of that?
Well, it happens. No. We haven't been able to.
Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect substance? How could you have overlooked something so important? Isn't that the first thing you should have done?
My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked.
Unable? Why?
It's simple enough. There was none left. Not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed.
With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances.
We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough.
The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question.
Well, hang on a second. I see. Thank you. The matter is clear.
Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend.
What?
You can see it in their faces, I'm sure, the recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity.
Get a little heavy-handed there, buddy. He's right. I feel all 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. Whoosh! But I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Okay.
Let's get busy.
Let's get busy. Catastrophic night.
It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and I took some tea with me as a gift.
Hold it! Were you and your neighbor good friends then?
No! We weren't friends. Not at all. Not at all! Never. Ever.
A simple no would have sufficed. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit?
Mr. Shamspeare fancies himself as having great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we find much to talk about together.
Come now, no Nipponese could understand the finer points of English literature.
And on the night in question, that was the topic of conversation as well, I presume.
It was the day of my last trial when I was acquitted. I just arrived back at my lodgings when I ran into Mr. Shamspeare outside of the street. That was around 6 o'clock. We exchanged 1 or 2 pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at the time, though, so I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. But did I have ill intentions? No! Not 1, not 2, not any! Not at all! Never, ever!
A simple no would have sufficed, I feel.
Then tell the court what did happen when you visited the victim's room.
We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11.
Hold it! A literary debate? About Shakespeare's works, I think you said, didn't you? Shakespeare? Ah, a very worthy topic of conversation, I must say.
Oh yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet. Who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley.
Romeo and Juliet?
Who was stronger?
I know I'm going to regret asking this, but how did the debate go?
Well, we both agreed that we could reach a conclusion more quickly with a reenactment, so we battled it out in a Greco-Roman style, naturally.
What?
Mr. Shakespeare had all sorts of costumes in his room for just such a contest.
So, when you say a reenactment, you mean you were actually in costume?
He as Romeo, I as Juliet, and after a vigorous wild tussle, I as Juliet came out on top. A victory I'll cherish forever!
I dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage.
The fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct?
I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. I heard that he was too poor to have a tea himself, you see.
It's true. There's no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room.
I wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. So why is everyone looking at me with such suspicion? My tea was harmless! Of course it was!
And do you have any basis for that statement, witness?
My tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he?
Hold it! Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there?
That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have liked it today. Which is a pity, because one thought was all you would have needed to analyze if a poison.
And you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume?
Yes, definitely. By heaven and earth, I swear it. Landlord was able to verify that as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 at night.
And how was the landlord able to attest to this?
He said it was the lamps, I believe.
The lamps, Inspector? When tenants return to their rooms and start using gas, the lamps in other parts of the house flicker.
Yes, Mr. Gerlach seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants.
There's only one key in Mr. Shampshield's room. I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself from inside his room.
The victim must confirm that to be the case, yes.
So I'm right. My key was harmless. Completely harmless. If you take poison, you die. Everyone knows that.
It's not that simple, I'm afraid.
What do you mean?
Strychnine, it takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it.
Hold it. How long does it take for symptoms to appear then?
According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison is consumed. And the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation.
So there's a 30-minute interval between when the poison is ingested and the onset of symptoms. There seem to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure.
Oh dear, death by poisoning again. It's always so awful.
30 minutes is a long time. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left.
Can't deny that. It further degrades Saseki-san's alibi.
I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. Spills out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it.
Very well, the court will add this report to the court record as evidence. Victim's medical report has been entered into the court record.
This is a report issued by Scotland Yard's medical officer. It obviously mentions the poison as well as other details gleaned during the police investigation.
Let's take a look at it.
Oh yes, I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms.
Great.
Victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest left. The argument still stands.
So let's take a look. Okay, so let's get a look at this. The crime scene photograph. Okay, can't really do much for that, but let's read this report.
William Shampshire, 31, cause of coma. Ingestion of a small quantity of strychnine. Toxic effects present 30 minutes after ingestion. High likelihood of the substance having been mixed with the tea victim was drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing.
Investigative conclusions. The poisoning incident occurred at around 1:30 a.m. on the 21st of February. Assessed from the victim's pocket watch that appears to have broken when the man collapsed after the delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. Oh, so if the incident occurred at 1:30 a.m., here's the deal. So Seki-san went to bed at 11.
Yes.
So he can't possibly have done it.
Nope.
But we really need to get our hands on that tea.
Strychnine, that's how you pronounce it.
Strychnine? Okay.
Strychnine.
So I'm going to try this. Okay.
Objection.
Objection! The argument still stands, you say. I think not, Inspector.
Go again.
I think you'll find that you've overlooked a very significant chronological inconsistency here.
A colonel what? What are you on about?
According to this report, the victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning. And yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11.
Oh!
Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 full hours after the defendant left? they both went. The defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Van Zeeks? Time drinking on the job yet again.
Pray forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would be best to complement the contents of my hallowed chalice this luncheon.
Huh?
How could it have happened, you ask? I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea.
A phantom?
Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report. Yes, at around 1:30.
Okay. Objection! Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor. And in Japan, there is a well-known saying, drink tea while it's hot.
Objection! And in my country, there is an even more apt saying. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea.
The point is, if there was such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned. Other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, counsel? Well, for example, the man could have had another visitor.
Another visitor? That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend, from someone who has nothing to substantiate it.
Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. You suggest this may have been a suicide, counsel.
Objection! Mr. Shamspeare has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted.
Objection! But he could be lying. There's something wrong, Lord Van Zeeks.
I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray forgive the discourtesy.
Carriage? What carriage? Strap in.
It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived.
Hold it! Out! Out, brief candle! Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Who, sir, are you? William Shamspeare, my lord. Alas, 'twas I, undone by these bitter events. I am the victim. What? What's he doing here?
The prosecution seeks to call this gentleman to the stand. With his testimony, my learned friend's future resistance will be utterly crushed.
Ugh. You're calling him as a witness? Very well, counsel. I grant your request with interest. I'm curious to discover what the court shall hear from the victim himself. Happy am I, Shamspeare. Happy am I, Shamspeare, to regale thee with my tale of woe, my lord.
Regale?
But I still have my own tale to tell, my own tale of worse woe. I can regale the court with a tale in my perfect innocence, in perfect English.
That will do, Mr. Natsume. Let the court now hear from the victim. Oh boy, here we go. Who the heck is this guy? What is that guy doing here? Alright, so that's Mr. Shamspeare. But who's that other man beside him?
Yes, I feel sure that we caught a glimpse of that man before.
State your names and occupations for the court, please, witnesses.
A writer of words so sweet, they do scent the breeze. An inventor of ideas so profound, they compose the earth. The unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe William Shakespeare, were the great bard to be recalled to life anew, though what a magnificent man. Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shamspeare,
The name's Metaman. Arden B. Metaman. I work for the Altamont Gas Company, East End branch office.
Ah, I remember now. It was yesterday on Briar Road.
Oh, yes. She's right. It's him. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? Looks like he's trying to see into Saseki-san's lodgings.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
Excuse me, could we have a word? He ran off. Yes, we spotted him outside Mr. Garrett's house that morning. He's a gas company employee? What does he have to do with this case? So, Mr. William Shakespeare, you are the victim in this miserable affair, correct? Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember that sweet poison that did cost me and cost mine innocent lips?
I subpoenaed him for the trial, with his doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony of the aggrieved will remove any room for doubt from the jurors' minds, I'm sure.
Behold, you have only to rearrange the letters of my name to see that me's a seraph, an angel indeed. Thus be I noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as all heavenly angels be. Because there isn't a less contrived meaning in your name. No, not at all.
The jurors seem to be very moved by this man, I'm afraid. They're actually taking the
serif anagram idea seriously?
Sorry.
Thank you, witnesses, for your illuminating introductions. But my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shakespeare doing here? The gas man, I mean?
Oh, what? Me? Well, no. Allow me to enlighten my learned friend. You recall, I presume, your earlier impertinence? When you suggested that the victim had another visitor to his room on the night in question, and moreover, that the victim is a compulsive liar.
What? No, I didn't quite say that. Yes, he did.
This young chin-stroker is here to controvert your wild claims conclusively. Is that not so, Mr. Mitterman? Hang on, no, I'm just here.
I hereby call for your formal testimonies. You will tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened on the night in question. One may smile and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but that the truth be spoken, the truth of that wintry night of my discontent. He's just got eyes on him.
His testimony.
Wintry night of my discontent. The snow lay about. My neighbor did cometh in the evening, bearing a gift of tea. But marry bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall prostrate on my table. 'Twas the tea alone did pass my lips at that hour, naught else.
I was outside this bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye in his room. No one else visited his room but that shortly round-backed Eastern fella.
Well, that's great. Wait, what did you say? You were keeping an eye on Mr. Shakespeare's room all night?
That's right. Of course, the bloke's window is all but blocked up, isn't it? There's a little gap in the brick so you can see into the room. So I spent the night trying to keep my teeth from chattering as I peered in through that.
The question is, sir, why?
Well now, that's because he's on my list.
What a piece of work is a man, wherefore wouldst thou not stare in wonderment? What are you talking about? This buzzing busybody hath not part in this play. I pray thee, pay him no heed, make no more ado about his tedious words.
What you say about me? Calm yourself, This court is concerned with what happened on the night in question, nothing more.
Indeed, that is so.
And as the testimony we have just heard clearly reveals, there was no one other than the accused present at the time who could have carried out this crime.
Well, I believe this may be the final testimony of the trial. Hardly.
I don't think so.
Now, counsel, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord.
Good luck.
Okay. I keep forgetting how this trial goes, but I'll figure it out. The snow lay about. My neighbor did cometh in the evening bearing a gift of tea. Hold it! Hold it! To be clear, by neighbor, you are referring to the defendant, Mr. Natsume? Oh, indeed, sire. Perchance thou wouldst that I call him the man from upstairs?
And at what time did the mustachioed Nipponese visit you in your room?
Our meeting was promised for the hour of 9, and lo did he come to tender a gift for fragrant tea. Details which are in accordance with the defendant's own testimony, yes. And we were broiled in such a literary debate as history had not seen before. By which I presume he means
Their discussion about who was the stronger, Romeo or Juliet.
I, Shakespeare, did play the part of young Romeo, whilst my neighbour played the fair Juliet. Each of us dressed as would our characters be, to bring weight upon our merry experiment. I dare not imagine the scene. Frailty, thy name is woman. Canst thou imagine how dismayed I was? Yes, I have heard of the Eastern art of jiu-jitsu, but ne'er did I dream 'twould be a skill practiced by the comely maiden. Juliet beat Romeo up? This is not helping our case.
I believe the court has heard enough about your earth-shattering literary debate. Perhaps you could reiterate your statement about the tea that the accused brought to your room.
My liege, I am thy servant. Gladly I would do thy bidding. So weird. But Mary, bitter was his drink, and when he left I did fall prostrate on my table. Hold it! Hold it! Let me stop you there. Mr. Natsume left your room at 11 o'clock, but it wasn't until after 2 that the poison made you collapse. That amounts to more than 3 hours of missing time. If the defendant had really put the poison into your tea, that 3-hour window of time is something you're gonna have to explain. Gladly, 'tis an easy task. What? I did drink of the tea, not while my guest did tarry, but after he took leave of me. Faith, 'twas stone cold, but at 1 hour past post-midnight, verily were my lips parched. Objection! That doesn't sound normal. Nay, 'tis quite ordinary, sire. After all, thou wouldst recall our fiery debate. Amidst such argument, there'd be no time for fiery tea. Romeo and Juliet again. Who was stronger?
Mr. Shakespeare, in summary, allow me to confirm. Did you not come here with the intention of naming your attacker?
But of course, my liege. 'Twas the stupid lover of words did attempt to shuffle me off this mortal coil. Ugh, you all know what that means. 'Twas the tea alone did pass my lips that late hour, naught else. Hold it! So, you didn't have any kind of evening meal? Dinner? Supper? Huh! Fie on luxury! Fie on gluttony! To eat thrice daily is but a waste of time. Sorry. I would that my belly were full, no more oft than the sun doth rise. Well, most heroic eating habits, I must say. Night and day I fill my hours with learned study of the great bard and playwright. Hence is it that there doth not be in my chamber, Hence is it that there doth not be in my chamber.
In my chamber be than the costume.
Hence is it that there doth not in my chamber be than the costumes of mine art. There we go.
That would appear to be the case, as even a rodent was found starved to death in your room.
Now I think of it, it's not just food that was conspicuously missing from that room, is it? I don't recall seeing a single play or script anywhere.
For I have devoured them all. You've eaten them? Every word be within my skull. Didst thou imagine otherwise? Right. That wasn't misleading at all. Now, could you turn around, do you think?
Which brings us to the conclusion that the only way the poison could have passed the victim's lips is in the tea. I was outside this bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room.
Hold it! But the windows of that house have all been filled in.
A historical artifact of the now defunct window tax.
Yeah, you're right there. All bricked up horribly. But as it happens, there's a little part of the brickwork at the bottom corner that's been opened up. I was looking in through that gap.
Yes, there were a few bricks loose, weren't there?
And for some strange reason, a couple of bars of soap lined up on the ledge outside as well.
I don't like going around poking my chin in other people's business, especially on freezing cold nights. But there's my orders, so that's what I'll keep doing, as long as there's breath in my body.
What's with all the theatricals today?
Out of interest, Mr. Meaterman, after the accused had left and returned to his own lodgings, did you see the victim leave the room at all? No! He never left. He was in that room the whole time, as far as I'm concerned. And we can therefore discount the possibility of suicide.
How can you be so sure of that?
The police carried out a thorough investigation of the scene and found no receptacle for the poison, and since we know the victim didn't leave his room, and hence didn't dispose of the poison's container himself, it's clear that this was no attempted suicide. Only the culprit could have removed the receptacle.
Ah, yes. Lucidly explained, counsel. Thank you. It really was. Can't argue with the logic.
No one else visited his room but that short little round-back Eastern fella.
Hold it! You say a short little round-backed Eastern fella, so you can't be sure it was the defendant then.
Objection! How many other short little round-backed Nipponese with a mustache do you think there are in London? Well, of course, it's only a narrow gap and it was quite dark, so I didn't notice the mustache. We showed up at around 9, so I'm pretty sure of myself.
And when the person you saw arrived, did he and Mr. Shamspear drink tea together?
Nah, sorry, I couldn't say.
Why not?
Because I couldn't see into the room all that well, could I? What I did see was the silhouette of that little round-backed fella wearing a pretty dress. Then the pair of them started some kind of wrestling match. I'll tell you, I didn't know what to make of it.
I suppose that was Romeo and Juliet championship battle getting underway.
Mr. Meaterman, allow me to confirm one final time. Apart from the accused, can you state with certainty that no one else visited the victim on the night in question? No question. Gasman's honor.
Hold it!
Hold it! My lord!
Goodness me. Yes, Mr. Foreman?
I've kept my mouth shut and listened up to now, but this has gone on long enough. Are you all with me?
Yes!
Are we to understand that you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are in agreement with one another? That you've reached a unanimous decision?
Too right we have. Are you all with me?
Yes! Wait, no! The defense is in the middle of a cross-examination.
To be honest, I was holding out a bit of hope for you, young man. Especially after you identified those few hours that followed the accused leaving the victim's room.
Yes, the 3 missing hours, as you put it.
But in the end, what difference did I make? None as far as I can see.
And since that's now apparent, there's really no reason to delay our decision any longer.
Like I was saying before, if I don't take 5 bob home to me tonight, the missus will blow her top.
Huh? What's that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said.
Very well. Let the court be apprised of your decisions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Take it away, jurors.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty. Guilty.
What? Wait, hang on. No. God damn it.
No.
All of you. Well, it would appear that the jury is indeed unanimous.
So, this time at least, it seems justice will be done. All's well that ends well, as they say. This calls for a toast, I feel. To the guilty being punished.
No!
Get up, Mr. Naruto, please! The trial isn't over yet.
What do you mean, Mr. Susato?
What about the information I found in this encyclopedia of British law I have? That obscure right that belongs to the defense in these situations. Remember?
A summation examination. Yes, that's right. We don't have a jury in Japanese courts, of course. But here in a British court of law, if we can reverse the decisions of a majority of the jurors, we can force the trial to continue. This trial can't end now. Whatever it takes, I just can't let that happen. The defense moves to invoke its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Why am I not surprised at my learned Nipponese friend's inability to admit defeat? You choose to cling desperately to some archaic rule you barely comprehend instead of accepting the truth.
Certainly, no other defense counselor in recent times has exercised the right to a summation examination.
Because they all know that once the jury's mind is set, it cannot be altered.
Nevertheless, the right remains and must be upheld. The defense counsel's request is granted. This court will proceed with a summation examination as outlined in the Encyclopedia of British Law. Thank you, my lord. Are you and your fellows prepared, Mr. Foreman?
Believe me, my lord, we know all about this young lad's tenacity, and we're ready for it.
Very well. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby call upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime for which he stands accused.
Here we go.
All right, here we
boys.
go. Lock and load. Judicial findings.
The jurors' contentions.
The victim may not be well off, but he's a noble man and straight up. There's no reason to doubt the man.
There's plenty of reasons.
Well, I do declare the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid.
Just look at the accused by comparison. Japanese, stoops all the while. Here's a mustache. Very fishy.
There's no evidence to suggest the gangling actor is a fraudsman. For now, at least.
I really don't care, Lord. I just need this trial to end quickly.
3 hours of missing time is nothing when you reach my age, you know. Nothing at all.
Well, so I got a couple places. Knew it. Every single one of them seems completely convinced.
It would seem that all the jurors have come to the conclusion that Mr. Shamspeare is a fine, upstanding, and honest citizen.
If you ask me, we've all been bewitched by his strange theatrical movements.
And sadly, nothing Mr. Natsumi has said appears to have registered at all.
Well, here goes. Let's not forget. I've pleaded with the jury on Saseki-san's half before, and it worked. So you never know.
Before we begin, it might be an idea for me to remind you exactly how a summation examination works, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh,
Well, you're still very new to British law, after all.
that's true, I suppose. And Saseki-san's fate is entirely in my hands now, too. There's always a chance I might have forgotten some crucial detail. Perhaps I should hear Susato-san out. I wonder, should I let her talk me through it again, or not bother? No need. Thank you for the kind offer, Miss Susato. But I've been through plenty of these summation examinations already now. I think it's important that we don't delay the start any longer than necessary.
Of course, I understand, and I'm quite sure you're right. If you're confused by anything at any point, you can turn to me for advice whenever you like. I'll be here for you.
The key to this is really listening carefully to each juror's statement, finding two that are contradictory, and pitting the corresponding jurors against each other. Without further ado, please, counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord.
And away we go.
It's time
Jury examination.
The defense's rebuttal.
The victim may not be well off, but he's a noble man and straight up. There's no reason to doubt the man.
Hold it! Well, there are plenty of people in London who seem noble but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars?
I've no doubt about it. Like that shaky client of yours, for example.
Absolutely not. Mr. Natsume is no liar.
Look, the point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was that Japanese man's tea. When you take the gas man's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any clearer.
Well, that's alarmingly logical.
But let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman with a gentleman's values. If it turns out that the old Shakespearean chum is a rotten lie after all, I'd gladly change my decision about the defendant. And I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same. Isn't that right?
Well, yes, perhaps. Though I don't say it happening.
Huh? What's that? Elderly gentleman here, you know. You have to speak up.
Look, I really don't care about all this nonsense. I just need this trial to be over. How many gentlemen do we actually have on the jury, then?
Not quite.
All right, sir. I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you said.
All right. If you can show me that the victim's a liar, I'll reconsider my position.
Well, I do declare that the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid.
Hold it. Are you saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid?
No, that's not what I said. The point is, the man is the victim here. What reason would he have to lie? And yes, he is rather splendid.
So you say yet again.
Meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously it's exhausting to look at him. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all.
Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much. Just look at the accused by comparison. Japanese, stoops all the while, has a mustache. Very fishy. Hold it! No, not one of those things is a reason to find the man guilty. But he is fishy. There's no point dancing around the fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. You see, you arrive at the conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps, like a waltz, in fact. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance. You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though. You're on the wrong foot. No, there's nothing but circumstantial evidence here. There's no actual proof of the defendant's guilt. The victim's versions of events is backed up by what the big chin man next to him says, isn't it? 1, he saw a Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. 3, he saw the Japanese man there. Oh, it's another 3 steps. All this really does seem more and more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right. Prosecution will waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more.
There's no evidence to suggest the gangly actor is a fraudsman, for now at least.
Hold it!
Hold it! A fraudsman? What do you mean by that, madam?
It really is a most tiresome problem for the company. Most irritating. We can be absolutely certain that a customer is stealing from us, but without hard evidence. We can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued.
I'm sorry. You lost me a little there. Who are you?
I'm the wife of Augustus Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company.
Good gracious. Altamont Gas, you say?
Gas is the future of energy in this country and around the globe, but proper handling is essential. As I'm sure our employee from the East End branch office will be the first to agree.
Absolutely, Lady Quimby. Will be used properly. Altamont Gas, the best in the world, of course.
I think we may have solved the mystery of the bowl from earlier, Mr. Naruhodo.
Right. He bowed in deference to his employer's wife, did he? So would I be right in assuming that the reason Mr. Meaderman was watching what Mr. Shamspeare was up to in his room?
I'm afraid that there's no end to the lengths the population of the East End would go in order to steal our gas. So I really have no choice when the company identifies somebody as a possible fraudsman, but to dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night. We're very thorough in our investigations.
So you mean Mr. Shamspeare is...
I wouldn't come out and say it in public, but you can finish that sentence with a grubby little gas thief.
You have noticed the public gallery in here, have you? The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Faith, wouldst thou wound me with thy words were I let them to penetrate the skin? But seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song.
We may not have evidence yet, but my workers won't stop buzzing around you until they find it. And when they do, you'll find yourself blasted back to your angelic height in an Altamont gas explosion.
Thank you, Jesus. So Mr. Shamspeare's been stealing gas. I wonder, juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement.
My pleasure. Was it the bit about ripping that thief apart you enjoyed?
A little before a part about abject violence, if it's not too much trouble.
Yes, of course.
This could be it. This could shift the balance.
The victim puts on a fine performance, but in reality, he's a common thief of my company's gas.
Well now. Let's go, boys.
Objection!
Objection! Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious. To whose statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 1.
Huh? What are you yelling about, lad?
I presume you've heard juror number 4's statement, made by the wife of the owner of Altamont Gas?
Well, yes.
The victim, who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man, in fact turns out to be a common thief.
So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there? You and I both heard them say as much.
It's true. We don't have evidence as such just yet. But the claims aren't baseless, you know.
What?
You heard me. Seeing as his operation has already been compromised, I would suggest that the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there.
I'll do whatever you say, my lady. Gasman's owner.
Juror number 1, you say you're a man of your word.
Huh?
If I could show that Mr. Shamspeare was a liar, you assured me. that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt.
Yes, I did say that. And as a man of honor, I'll hold to it, as I'm sure the other gentlemen of the jury will.
May? Well, yes. Now that we found out the man's a lawyer, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further.
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. So if this means you'll recap a few points, that would shoot me down to the ground.
Oh no, I'm not having any part of this. I want this trial over and done with.
In that case, I shall change my leaning.
So, Mr. William Shamsphere, if that is your real name, we of the jury demand to know exactly what kind of a man you really are.
Hey!
That's all we needed.
That's 4 jurors. 4 for not guilty.
Yes, Miss Naruhodo. Victory!
Order! Order! Well, this is quite extraordinary, I must say. As a result of the defense's summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Now only 2 jurors say guilty, whilst 4 say not guilty. I therefore declare this court to be in a state of disaccord and order the trial to continue. Don't do that, please.
Sorry. You have spoilt the bouquet, Mr. Shamsphere. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find they are unable to trust you, the victim.
But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. So God mend me, I do swear. This gas man speaketh that which concerns him most. Naught but gas, naught but thin air. It burneth bright a while, but it hath no substance, and it doth reek foul.
Oi, what do you say?
Do I take it, Mr. Shamsphere, that you deny the allegations of gas thievery? Most heartily, my lord. Hast thou forgot? I am as a seraph, an angel, noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart.
Oh, you flowery-mouthed pompous beanpole, just cause I haven't got the evidence yet.
Mr. Shamsphere, if in fact you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, or honest of heart, if you are a liar, then your testimony should have no sway in this courtroom. It is my considered opinion that at the present time no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by the court thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case.
Oh no!
However, in light of the fact that the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be inappropriate for this court not to pursue the point further.
Objection!
Objection!
I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of the court's time. The gas and this case are unrelated.
Oh, are they? Juror number 4.
Yes?
Didn't you say before... let's start again. Sorry. Didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man has been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him?
That's right, we do. Don't we, worker?
Absolutely, Lady Quenby. Gasman's honor.
Very well, then. We will hear your testimony now. you will tell the court precisely why you believe the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, has been stealing gas.
Yes, my lord, it'll be my pleasure. On the ultimate gas name, I swear.
If I may, my lord,
Go ahead, madam.
this worker's testimony may have a significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in a supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, oh yeah, sweet as honey. Yeah.
Very well. As an exception, I shall honor your request.
Thank you, my lord.
You wait till the boss gives you an earful. Ooh, it's gonna sting. You mark my words.
So you will both testify before the court on the subject of the illegal consumption of the Ultimate Gas Company's fuel.
Yes. Is that clear, my good man?
Clear as ultimate gas, my lady. Which is the clearest in the world.
Do you think the gas has gone to his head, Miss Susato?
I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruhodo.
It's been 2 hours and 45 minutes, but hey.
I'm hoping that we're probably going to get to
Yeah.
a conclusion soon.
The Ultimate Gas Company's investigation. I'm proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent. Ultimate gas meters accept through penny bids, each coin giving customers about 2 hours of gorgeous gas.
And yet the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room didn't have a single coin in it. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and the collection agent has the only key.
Somehow he's using all the flaming gas he wants without paying a penny. If that's not thieving, what is?
Yeah, we'll be able to figure this out.
Pray forgive the discourtesy. The irrelevance of this testimony caused me to turn to my hallowed chalice.
What do you mean by that remark, Lord Van Zeeks?
Did the mustachioed Nipponese poison the gangling excuse for an actor, or didn't he? That is all that should concern this court, and yet now we must listen to this abhorrence.
Abhorrence.
Clearly what separates the vast British Empire and your Eastern Island nation is more than geographical distance.
But this could turn out to be crucial testimony. The cross-examination must go ahead. Ouch!
Do what you will.
Lord Van Zeeks appears to be in a violent mood.
Yes, he does. Attempted poisoning and an incidence of gas theft with no supporting evidence. It's true that they would appear completely unrelated at first glance, but I wonder. The truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places, and the first step in uncovering it will be to establish just who and what this man really is.
Well, there is a gas leak in that one photo, remember? I think
I remember.
I remember. I'm on Gas Company's investigation. I'm proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent.
I'm just going to let story mode take it from here.
Ultimate gas meters accept company bids, each coin to giving customers on 2 hours of gorgeous gas.
And yet the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room didn't have a single coin in it.
Hold it! Out of interest, how long has this been going on?
Weeks and weeks. He's been pitching gas off us for ages.
And you've examined the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room, I take it?
Naturally, we took it off the wall and went over with it with a fine-tooth comb.
And found nothing suspicious at all, I presume.
No, I'm afraid we didn't. Which is exactly why I demanded a new type of meter to be produced. One with an indestructible lock. The Shamspeare Special.
That sounds like it would have cost an awful lot of 3-penny pieces.
But even after all that, the rascal's meter was still empty.
I'll never forget the humiliation. When I opened up the money box and found it bare, "You what?" I said. "You what?" And the look on his face, that smarmy smile of his. I pulled the meter straight off the wall and took it back to the office. But you know what? Nothing. Not a trace of it being jimmied open anywhere. Not a single sign. And what's happening to my salary as a result? Down by 3 shillings a day, that's what.
A life-threatening situation in a number of ways. Incidentally, what became of that meter?
Nothing became of it. I've still got it.
Oh,
Right here.
no wonder they call you Meterman. I think it would be prudent for the court to sequester this item while the trial is ongoing. The gas meter has been entered into the court record.
Keep going.
Definitely. Although at first glance, it doesn't appear to be anything unusual about it. Let's take a look at it. So, alright, so here we go. What's this? That's a very sturdy looking padlock, isn't it?
And the money box is sealed with beeswax, too.
So if Mr. Sholmes were to get up to any mischief, he'd be found out immediately.
Mr. Naruhodo, mischief of that kind is not the sort of thing that Mr. Sholmes would.
You know you didn't finish that sentence, don't you?
Well, anyway, it's understandable that the gas company would want to safeguard the money that's rightfully theirs.
It does feel a little over the top, perhaps, doesn't it? So, alright. What the hell? Look at this. Oh, what's
Have you spotted something, Mr. Naruhodo?
just here? There's a little hole. Do you see?
Goodness, you're right. I wouldn't have noticed.
It's not a very neat hole, is it? Not professionally made, I'd say.
So, you think it might have been opened up by Mr. Shamspeare?
Possibly. It seems the people at Altamont Gas must have missed it.
Well, it certainly seems to go all the way through to the inside.
Yes, there's no way a coin could fit through there.
That's true, but even so, it seems more than a little suspicious.
Details of the gas meter have been updated in the court record.
Alrighty.
So, okay.
Let's move this along, shall we? Continue with your testimony. Though I would say it has as much value as the contents of that meter.
The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and a collection agent has the only key.
Well,
Really?
Objection! Lady Altamont, I'm afraid to say that this meter clearly does show signs of having been tampered with.
What?
Get away! I've been over and over that thing. I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with it.
In that case, what do you have to say about the small hole that's been made at the base of the coin box?
Hole? What?
You're right. You're quite right. There's a little hole there. The meters aren't supposed to have that. None of the others do.
In other words, we can assume that Mr. Shamspeare secretly opened up this hole himself.
Yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised. But why?
Yeah, why? I mean, it's tiny. You could get a farthing through that.
Lady Altamont, I wonder if you could give the court some more details about your meter design.
What sort of details?
Well, what I'd specifically like to know is how it differentiates coins. How does the meter tell the difference between different coins?
What do you mean?
Well, for example, if someone were to put in a 1-penny coin, that wouldn't work presumably, would it?
No, of course not.
So, well, how does the meter know that the coin that's been fed is a through penny bit?
Ah, I see what you're getting at now.
Actually,
Time out, I want to take a look at something.
Oh, yeah?
Look at this. Hey! Oh,
What is it, Mr. Naruhodo?
this bar of soap. When we first found it, I could have sworn there was some sort of round disc in this depression just here. A reddish one.
Yes, you're right. I remember it too. But now the depression is completely empty.
Where could the disc have gone?
Oh.
Well, let's look at this stuff.
This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking.
Yes, Unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean.
I suppose it must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark.
I always gulp it down too.
Sorry, Miss Naruhodo.
Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold.
Clearly, I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to take tea.
Details of pair of teacups have been updated into the court record.
Well, no teaming inside of Mr. Natsu's cup, then, huh?
This must be the cup that Mr. Shamspear was drinking from then. It's stained on the inside.
Tea doesn't, I'm afraid. Even green tea.
Oh, really? I've never noticed before.
You never noticed?
Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it?
Oh dear, so many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture, and most of them are Japanese.
Alright, hang on. Nixon's medical report, the soap thing.
The meter tells coins apart by the shape and size, which includes their thickness. The threepenny bit is about 3/4 of an inch of diameter, you see. Other coins just won't fit.
Ah, I see. It's clearly been very well thought out. The witness will amend her formal testimony with that information in case it is pertinent.
As you wish, my lord. The meter is designed for coins the exact diameter and thickness of a threepenny bit. Nothing else will fit.
Well, I think it's time for the bar of soap.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at this bar of soap. There's a circular depression on this side, about 2 centimeters across.
Or 3/4 of an inch. Ah! Do you think...
We did find this soap at the scene, didn't we?
Yes, there were 2 bars on that little ledge just outside the window, so we took this one. And I'm sure that when we first found it, there was some sort of reddish medallion in the middle there. I remember it clearly.
Yes, but there's no sign of it now. Where could it have gone?
2 center diameter and circular depression in the middle of one surface.
So let's see.
Objection!
Objection! Let me just confirm something here. If the diameter and thickness were to be correct, the meter would accept any object as if it were a threepenny bit. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, by something of a coincidence, while we were investigating in Mr. Shamspear's room, we found a particular item that matches the dimensions perfectly.
Something the same size as a threepenny bit? What was it?
The item in question is this.
What? Have you been inhaling gas? That's a bar of soap.
It certainly looks nothing like a threepenny bit, I must say.
Looks like I'm gonna have to point out exactly what I mean here. What's so important about the soap is this part here.
Yep, turn it around. And got it.
Got it!
Got it! You have to turn over the soap to see what I mean.
Ah! Are you referring to that round depression in the middle of the soap there?
That's right. A depression that's approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Or in other words, almost exactly the same size as a threepenny bit.
Get away!
Does anyone here present have in their possession a threepenny bit? Quickly now, hand over your coins, ladies and gentlemen.
It sounds rather like a highway robbery, doesn't it?
No.
Thanks to a kind member of the public in the gallery, I have here a threepenny bit. Now to see if it fits.
Uh-oh.
My word! It couldn't be more snug! Yes, as I suspected. This, without a doubt, is a vital clue to explain how the Altamont Gas Company is being defrauded.
Well, I don't believe it!
So, your assertion amounts to what? That some inferior bar of soap has a tentative connection to the theft of gas?
Yes! The depression in the soap was clearly made by a threepenny bit. I must concur at least that pushing a coin with some force into a poor quality bar of soap such as this is a remarkably simple way of replicating the coin's shape.
And then you could use, well, some melted wax or something to pour into the mold. You can make fake coins in no time.
This brings all the pieces of the puzzle together. It's the method Mr. Shamspeare has been using to steal the gas. That's the missing link. Now, if I follow the chain of thought, it's going to bring me to a new explanation for what happened that nobody's considered yet.
But this is all nonsense! If the man had been making fake coins, my worker here would have found them when he emptied the meter.
Quite true, Lady Altamont. In the absence of some black magic that could make them disappear...
I see. That's what we're dealing with, is it? There is one form of black magic that could cause the fake coins to disappear into thin air, yes?
Exactly. And the meter here gives it away.
What on earth?
There are remnants of the magical method used visible on the gas meter taken from the victim's room. If that is your assertion, counsel, the defense will identify these remnants for the court at once. Where on the meter can the remnants of the method used to make the fake coins disappear be seen? All together, everybody. Got it! We found this bar of soap at the scene of the crime just outside the victim's window.
Outside?
Yes, outside, where you yourself, Mr. Meaderman, were loitering in the freezing winter air. That's where we found this soap.
Ah! I get it.
That's right. The answer, of course, is ice. Did you say ice? Mr. Shamspeare has been leaving soaps like this outside his window each evening, filled with water. After a night outside in the bitter cold, the water is completely frozen solid the next morning.
Then he takes his fake coins of ice and feeds them into the gas meter, giving him light and warmth in spades. As his room becomes very comfortably warm, the ice now inside the meter's coin box melts,
turning back into water and draining harmlessly away through the small hole made in the underside of the meter. That is how, without leaving any evidence of his wrongdoing, this man has been stealing Altamont gas.
Just like that. So simply. Is he trying to make us look like idiots? He's been fooling us all with some bars of soap and some water.
That's right, madam.
I don't believe it. It can't be true. Do you have any idea how much money we spent to develop that new meter? And now you have the audacity to suggest that a bit of soap and some water can render it totally useless?
I'm fairly sure I didn't design it.
Evidence!
Sorry?
I want evidence! If you're going to stand there and tell me our meters are rubbish, I want to see proof.
She's very good at enforcing accountability, isn't she?
Very well, Lady Altamont. If you'd like evidence, I'll provide it.
What?
Mr. Naruhodo, are you saying you do actually have evidence to support this theory?
I did notice a trace of something that bothered me a little at the time. And I have a feeling that this theory we've come up with now could explain it. The piece of evidence that substantiates the theory about how Mr. Shamspeare has been stealing gas is this photo. Look at this photograph, cuz every time I do it makes me laugh. This is a photograph of the scene at the point when the victim was discovered, taken by Inspector Gregson. And it clearly shows the remnants of the crime carried out by Mr. Shamspeare.
What remnants?
Here you can see the gas meter on the wall in Mr. Shamspeare's room. Now, look closely at the floorboards directly underneath the meter.
What is that? Some kind of grubby stain?
Almost certainly, it's a water stain resulting from the liquid that drained out of the hole made in the meter. If one coin gives around 2 hours of gas usage, and the occupant was heating his room in all his waking hours, we can imagine he would have used around 10 of his fake coins each day. The melting ice inside the meter's coin box would have been dripping out almost constantly, leaving a stain on the floor.
This is awful.
And there's further evidence too. Mr. Shamspear is slumped over his table, apparently having consumed strychnine. And right there next to him is a bar of soap broken in half.
You're right.
It would appear to me then, Counsel, that the man was eating the soup, was he?
Pardon me for disagreeing with your lordship, but certainly not.
He didn't beat about the bush there, did he?
In truth, Mr. Shamspear was found with a fork in his hand. A meal of soap is sounding increasingly likely, Lord Van Zee.
You mean to say he was using that fork to...
Yes. To extract a frozen coin from the bar of soap.
But the bar broke in half. So perhaps it didn't go very well.
Good gracious. Lord Van Zeeks.
I was throwing my hand up in despair and happened to catch my hallowed bottle on the way. Pray forgive my mildred mistake.
What is the meaning of this, Counsel?
Allow me to pose my learned friend a question. What exactly did you establish with your most recent cross-examination?
Well...
That Mr. William Shamspear is a liar and a thief. In other words, that his testimony is unreliable.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Very well, let us assume the man is a liar. Now allow me to pose another question. What possible difference does that make?
Hang on, we're almost there. Well?
We know that suicide can be discounted. Scotland Yard's investigation revealed no sign of another vessel that contained poison. And on the night in question, there were no visitors to the room except the accused. The young gasman's testimony, which we have no reason to doubt, has confirmed that. Furthermore, the only possible way the poison could have entered the victim's body is via the tea.
And that's what we need to discount.
The court has seen no evidence whatsoever that suggests otherwise. Even if William Shamspear is the liar you claim him to be, these facts have been objectively established. There's no escaping it. Therefore, in light of these facts, the prosecution calls for immediate adjudication.
You... What? Order! Well, Counsel, how does the defense respond? You gotta keep it going.
Mr. Ohodo!
What was the point of that last cross-examination? Did it actually get us anywhere? Yes, it did. Or did it make no difference at all? Like Lord Van Zeeks is saying.
Raise an objection.
Raise an objection. Every time. No! This isn't over. The defense will not rest. What? But, Counsel, you've successfully explained everything. You've identified and substantiated the unscrupulous method employed by Mr. Shamspear to consume gas. What more is there to discuss? Lord Van Zeeks just highlighted 3 facts in order to make his point. But contrary to what he would have the court believe, not all of them have been objectively established at all.
What are you trying to say, my Nipponese friend?
At least one of those so-called facts is an assumption made due to a lack of evidence. But the situation has changed now following the cross-examination of the latest witnesses to take the stand.
Don't be absurd. What is this nonsense?
Yes, you bring everything we've learned so far together and consider it as a whole, it's clear. There's a question that we now need to reconsider. Namely, was the poison in the tea? We've all been led to believe that the strychnine poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspear was in the tea brought to him by Mr. Natsume. But that's conjecture at best.
Objection! The victim has testified that nothing else passed his lips that night. There is no other possibility. And since there was no trace of the tea left at the scene, it couldn't be tested for traces of the poison.
Objection! As I said, the situation has changed. Because, in fact, some of Mr. Natsume's tea was left at the scene. And a particular piece of evidence proves it.
Objection! A ludicrous claim. Scotland Yard detectives investigated the scene exhaustively. What evidence are you suggesting they missed?
The defense has made a bold claim indeed. Very well, counsel. Present your proof. What evidence from the scene of the crime can tell us about the nature of the defendant's tea? All together, everybody. Bar of soap.
Take that!
Good gracious. The soap again. The same bar the victim used to fashion his coins of ice. Yes, that's right, my lord. It just come back to me. Something about when we first found this bar of soap at the scene yesterday.
It's more bars of soap.
Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on an ledge outside the window? I'm quite certain that when we originally stumbled upon the bars of soap, there was actually a frozen coin in each bar.
So you discovered the gas thief's coin factory. Fascinating.
In a way, yes, but there's more. The coins we found in the soap at the time weren't normal ice. There was something strange about them, you mean? Exactly. Something very obviously strange. They were red.
The ice was red. No, you mean...
That's right. It's obvious to me now. The fake coins in the soap were made from frozen tea.
What?
What?
I would remind the court of a statement made by Mr. Natsume earlier in this trial.
That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspear's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never!
Ah, yes, I believe there had been a snowfall that day. It was particularly cold. Sadly, on such occasions, the poorly constructed water mains in the East End are prone to freezing. So on the night in question, Mr. Shamspear, having no running water to use, was forced to use the tea brought by Mr. Natsume in order to make his fake coins. My word. There were 2 bars of soap on the window ledge when my judicial assistant and I investigated the scene.
That's right, and we only borrowed one of them.
Which means that even as we speak, some of the defendant's tea is still present at the scene of the crime, frozen solid in a bar of soap outside Mr. Shamspear's window. Extraordinary. Earlier today, Inspector Gregson informed the court that if even 1 drop of the tea remained, Scotland Yard would be able to analyze it for poison. As such, we are now in a position to prove or disprove what has until now been mere conjecture, by finding out for sure whether or not Mr. Natsume's tea actually contained strychnine at all.
You smug Nipponese!
My lord, we cannot do the defendant the injustice of passing judgment now. The police should be dispatched to recover the remaining bar of soap from the scene at once. And the defense requests a thorough analysis of the frozen tea embedded in it to determine whether or not it contains any poison.
Hold on.
Bailiff, instruct the police to attend the scene at once.
Yes, my lord. Understood.
Yes, my lord. It would seem we have no choice but to suspend these proceedings for the time being. I trust you have no objection, Lord Van Zeeks.
None, my lord.
Scotland Yard will recover the tea from the scene and carry out the requisite tests immediately. The trial will resume at the same hour tomorrow. The prosecution and defense may conduct further investigations as appropriate in the interim. Yes, my lord. Well, managed to scrape through there somehow. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned until tomorrow. Oh boy!
Wow.
what a ride, huh?
Yes.
And we're only getting started, so we're a little bit over time, folks, but it was totally worth it.
Absolutely, guys.
So we're probably going to have one more episode for this particular case. Save your progress.
Yes.
Overwrite the save data and save complete. So
we've been talking. My brother and I have been talking recently, and I don't know if we're going to do this next week or the week after. We don't know for sure.
All right. Well, whichever we decide, we'll keep you posted.
That's right.
So tune in next week or the week after. We don't know, because it's time to put this particular case to bed. So I am the Cannonball, Alex Steele.
I am the package, Andrew Steele.
We are the Steel